like to know what's on your mind.
Welcome everyone to the female bodybuilding channel, and we're joined by 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23 Rising Phoenix and Miss Olympia winner and Omaha Pro. It's Andrea Shaw. Crazy, huh?
It is. It all like, it seems like it was just yesterday.
It feels
Went
like
by
time
so
has
fast.
gone fast, correct? It's going fast.
Very fast, very fast. I still feel like I haven't quite gotten the full, like, previous Olympia. And I'm like, whoa, it's almost time to start prep again. But I'm ready. I'm excited.
Do you have time for people? We haven't seen this in, well, Sydney Gillen obviously winning a lot. Chris Bumstead, the same thing right now. Do you take time to appreciate what you're currently doing, or is it just next?
I definitely take time. It's just a matter of planning it. I think this past win, I haven't planned the time yet. And I think that's what I was telling Sydney, once we get done with what we have going on within the next 2 weeks, I will finally, have a chance to really take the time and and I like to do that before I start prep. Really appreciate where I am, and then make connections with people that I haven't gotten a chance, who have helped me along the way, who I haven't gotten a chance to really spend good quality time with just yet, before it's time for me to start the prep again. So that part is important to me, because those people they're in the trenches with you when you're going through some of those days that are tough. So yeah, I like to really plan strategically that set amount of time, and it's usually for about 2 weeks, where I can try to get, in a 2-week window, everybody that I want to see and spend some time with or connect in some way. Before I go into that next prep. And then I like to look over, the things that I've accomplished over the year, and over the last 4 years, and just say, you know what, I'm thankful for what I have. And then I start to sit and dream and journal about what I want for the next year.
Yeah. We just quickly touch on a few bodybuilding questions before we're going into our main topic. That's your new show, the Triple Dynasty and the Olympia. Your best ever, correct?
Correct. A close tie between 2022 and 23.
What do you like about that package, and what was the difference, you think, in your physique compared to 2022, 2021, 2020 at this last Olympia? Because it was another it was more dominating than in 2022.
Agreed. The conditioning for me was a huge, and I like to use this word very loosely. For me, I have enough conditioning. When Sandy and Tyler told me that I needed to, step up the conditioning, I heard them, but I kind of knew that I really needed to go through a little bit of some dieting tweaks to get the conditioning to where they wanted it. So for me, it was really adjusting my diet the last week and a half before the Olympia. I went to a place that I had not gone before with my coach's approval, and I restricted my diet that much more over the course of 3 additional days than what he normally makes me do. So instead of 5 days, I went 8 days on a little more of a restricted diet. And it worked. And I knew sometimes you have these moments where you just know. I knew it was going to be good. So, I told him, if all goes well, we'll get a chance to really see how that goes for the Rising Phoenix this year. And then, if all is well, we'll repeat it again for the Olympia this year. But yeah, I'm glad we kind of had a discussion about it, took a slight risk, but it paid off.
It's, of course, you're fully covered up, but we see on different social media platforms, you are appearing to stay a little bit leaner this time. Is this correct?
That is correct. And that's probably the other part of the equation for me. I typically don't follow an off-season diet. Actually, since 2022, I've started following an off-season diet.
You didn't have an off-season diet before?
I did not.
Wow. Yeah,
I did not. I was just going in, AJ. I mean,
wow. Really?
yeah. So now I have more structure in my off season, which makes it a lot easier for me to start prep because I'm saying I can still see my abs, I can still see my legs, right? And I'm in full blown off season, and that's when I know that okay, there's something to having the structure in the off season that I think a lot of competitors don't take advantage of.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you, I don't know. It's important to keep the excitement, you know, for female bodybuilding. We always try to like, yeah, what if Andrea Shaw, what if Angio does this? So what if Hero Trevino is back? What if she does this? And what about Lavinia Barros? But so you didn't even plan this, and now you're doing that also, huh? It's going to be hard to beat you this year, correct?
I think that everybody who comes to the Olympia stage should come ready to really give it everything they've got. Because I go to the stage with that mentality. Mm. I mean, I give it everything I've got because it's an opportunity. There are so many pros who wish they could step on the Olympia stage, right? And it's just a matter of how grateful are you for the opportunity. Your gratitude should be displayed in what you're willing to do to be more disciplined, whether it's in season and in off season, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, be ready. That's all. I'm gonna be ready. You know, God willing, I will be ready. So you just take it one day at a time. But again, making sure that I do what I'm supposed to do to beat the last Andrea that was on stage is my focus.
Yeah, Andrea Shaw, it's been very comfortable for me being an Andrea Shaw fan. Every Olympia, every Rising Phoenix, it's a slam dunk. it's a little bit more stressing for the fans of, well, I think we're fans of every athlete, but if you're Andrea Shaw fan, it's a good time we are in. One quick question. We're gonna talk about Triple Dynasty, but New York Pro is really exciting. Have you seen the lineup?
I'm super excited.
Have you seen the lineup for New York Pro?
Ashley. Yeah. I had a conversation with her about 2 years ago, and I messaged Alina Popa and I said, this girl. And I just took a risk. I said, you know what? I'm just going to message her and see what she says, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't think she was ready at the time. She just had a lot of other things going on. I told her, I understand. I just feel like in this position, when I see something, right? And I've had to change divisions twice. When I see someone who brings that level of very good quality muscle to the stage, you're going to take notice. So I am super excited to have her join us in female bodybuilding because I truly believe that that's where she belongs. And the same thing with Angela. Like when I told her, she knows I tell this story all the time. You know, when I saw her as a women's physique competitor and I met her, I said, yeah, you're not going to be in women's physique long. And it's just, again, when you see it, you acknowledge it. And if the person's ready to receive it, then fine, right? But if not, okay, you know, at least I can walk in good conscience and know that I didn't pass up an opportunity to tell someone the potential that I see in them. Right. Again, I get it. I am Miss Olympia. I get that. But Miss Olympia still has a duty to say, you know what? If you're in women's physique like I was, and you're not doing well there because the judge's feedback is you're too dense, you got too much muscle, or you need to bring this down, bring that down. That's a sign. You're not in the right place. And we have a place for you. Thank God for Jake Wood and Wings of Strength, right? We have a place for you to come and do well. And that's where, when you look at what we invest, go where you fit and you're going to do well, right? Because if you're really passionate about it, you really want to be your best and give your best. But for some of these girls, women's bodybuilding is where they belong. So I'm not going to stop that part. As long as I still see young ladies who are in women's physique, I will make it a point to speak to them if I feel like, you know, they're worth, you know, taking that time. And even some of my female bodybuilders, Sherry Priyami, she did that Tampa. We had a few, Chicago. And we had I think it was Tampa or Chicago. I think it may have been Tampa, where we had a few minutes where we kind of were backstage talking and we went through some posing and things like that. And to see her be able to do what she did this year or this past year, I mean, I'm loving the journey. I love to support the girls and really see them represent our division well.
The amazing Melissa Tech, she got 6 at Rising Phoenix, I believe, from women's physique. Sherry Priyami is now the 4th best bodybuilder in the world from women's physique. Desonka Dawson, I have high hopes for. She did the switch last year. So many great girls, and now Ashley Jones and Alicione, who just made the switch 2 years ago, is now the 3rd best women's bodybuilder. It's been a success. The only thing that's important for this switch is, Andrea, is that when you see on Instagram, there's so many uneducated men of the sport or of the girls who are saying to all the girls, you should do women's bodybuilding, you should do women's body, just because they have a little bit of muscle. So it's important that you pros that know who is women's bodybuilding reach out, because it can be confusing when you have all these men, they just see a muscle and like, oh, you should do women's body, because it's not legit feedback sometimes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think it will be better received from those of us who have been, at this high level of competition, right? Yeah. So again, I encourage my pros, like if you see someone, even at the amateur level, I've got high hopes for another one, Nina. She did the Arnold amateur.
Are we talking about Nina Benz?
Side by side of me.
Nina Benz?
Correct.
Oh, Andrea Shaw, she is if she can only get in shape, it's going to be lights out, correct?
Well, that's where I told Nina, I said, Nina, you have so much potential, and like, wow. Yeah. So, I still talk to her a lot. I think she's just finding the right time for her, and I think this is going to be soon. But I'm very hopeful that as we continue to see the division flourish at the amateur and the pro level, it's going to just be good for our fans, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great.
Triple Dynasty, talk to us why it's in 2 weeks. Isn't it 2 weeks from now?
It is 2 weeks from today.
Talk to us about why you wanted to create this with Sydney and Whitney Jones. Talk to us about it.
Well, it was actually something that was on my radar to begin with. I happened to just be chatting with Sydney. I said, one day I really want to put on my own Pro-Am show. And she kind of said, okay. And she had already had her Peach Classic. So this is her 3rd year with that. And I said, I don't know when it's going to be, but it's something that I would definitely want to do, because I want to give ladies who carry more muscle an opportunity to compete. It's my way of giving back. And when I look at the people that I still look up to, Linda, right? She's still actively giving back to competitors long after retirement. So I think that when I started to think about, okay, what do I want to be known for? And what type of competitor do I want to be when it comes to what my legacy is, or, what it is that people do look up to me for outside of just being on stage. And that's kind of how we came up with this. It was like, okay, well, let's take the 3 most muscular divisions, and let's give them another avenue to compete. And I think that it was a good call. Arizona actually doesn't have another pro show, to my knowledge, aside from the Wings of Strength. Right. So this is another opportunity for our West Coast ladies to be able to get qualified. And we wanted to put it at the top of the year. So if you're one of those competitors like we are, we tried to, when it was time to get qualified, especially for me during 2020, the Omaha Pro was the first show. I wanted to get qualified early. That way I could really take my time and get into, a slight little off season or rebound season, and then get into prep, but not be rushed. Right? When we're talking about getting a good quality competitor to display muscle on stage that's really matured, there's no substitute for the time. So if you can get qualified early, and March became the go-to, but we said April would do, that's like the smart way to go, right? Again, for the ladies who are coming, if they can get qualified early, they can really move on to just focusing on the Rising Phoenix prep, or focusing on the Olympia prep, or both, hopefully both. But that's what I had in mind. And this just kind of morphed into, bringing on Whitney Jones. Whitney was someone who's always been a supporter, but she's in Arizona and understands, she's had her show for a long time, that she understands a lot of the ins and outs that a lot of competitors take for granted. Even now at this level, I'm learning so much. I've helped with NPC shows, but learning even more about what goes into putting on a pro show. It's been pretty eye-opening. But again, I want all of my ladies and gentlemen who come to the show, because we are going to grow it. There will be more pro divisions added. We just want to make sure that as athletes ourselves, we understand what it is that athletes look for in a show, and we understand how athletes desire to be treated at a show. So that was another big, point where we wanted to emphasize, this is a dynasty because we consider our athletes to be royalty, right? We consider ourselves to be royalty, right? And it's not in a haughty or arrogant way. It's just when you have high standards and high levels of integrity, that's the point that we drive home. A lot of us have sacrificed a lot, and many of us understand that there should be a reward for what you've given and the passion that you put forth and what you love to do.
So just to make it clear, this is not a one-timer. You're going to have it next year, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you also said you are thinking about bringing on male pro classes. Is that what you said?
There's no thinking. We will.
And I got to say, for me, who is part of inclusion, for me, I'm not like some people are just pure female bodybuilding. They don't watch anything else. Or I watch every class, and I think it's so beautiful to have you girls as promoters, but to include everyone, because just because some promoters don't do it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, correct?
Exactly. And again, at the end of the day, the slogan that the Olympia chooses to carry when it says bodybuilding for everyone, I take that very, very personal, because it is true. Bodybuilding really is for everyone, because every athlete has a different look, right? But the NPC and the IFBB has been so great in creating spaces over the years where athletes can go. Like, for instance, when I first started in figure, there was literally just figure, women's bodybuilding, and fitness. There was no women's physique. So it was a joy to me after 8 years that, okay, now I have a place where I can go. I knew I wasn't small enough for figure, but I wasn't big enough yet for bodybuilding. So having the women's physique division was a huge saving grace for me, because now I had a place to actually display my passion and my love for bodybuilding.
The show will have a stream. JB, our great editor and co-host, will add in the link. I think all 3 shows and the amateur event will be streamed. This is correct?
Yes, that is correct. And then we still have registration is still open for our athletes. The pros, I mean, they're pretty much set, but we have really great goodie bags. We have VIP seating that's still available. Yeah, the live stream is definitely something that we want people who can't make it to, participate and support. Because as you know, right, we have these 3 divisions to start, but we are going to grow it. And we want to make sure that these ladies feel supported as the pros, but we also want the amateurs to feel supported, right? I mean, we've got quite a few amateurs that are coming to the stage, both male and female. And the whole reason, again, why, whether you're pro or whether you're amateur, we understand from an athlete's point of view what athletes want when it comes to, having their participation in a show. And that's what we want, to make sure that when they walk away, they say, wow, this was a great production, and they put on a really good show. If I have a friend that's doing a show, I'm going to tell them to do that show.
The pre-judging is in the day and finals is in the night, or is everything at once?
All at once. We want to make it easy for the athletes. Right. Sometimes the downtime, but I mean, our pro athletes will have enough time while the amateurs are on to, do things like touch up for hair and makeup and tan. But we want to make sure that, again, we get them done as soon as possible. It's already really long for depletion, right? Low water. We want it to be easy for everybody, right? And it makes for a better experience. Most athletes, when we've taken polls, they prefer to have it continuous. That way they can be done. They can spend time with their family and friends and move on to the next thing that they want to do after the shows. So yeah, we're going to be continuous. We will have a small intermission, but we're going to get it done and be timely about it and make sure everybody has it. Right?
And you will guest post, correct?
I will not.
You will not guest post, Andrea. Your abs are in, your legs are
working. I'm working. So I have to work. So I mean, in that regard, but I do have 2 guest postings coming up. So I'll be sure to make sure that,
by the way, we have already hyped the show, and it's not even a show. It's we can talk about it a little bit later. But anyway, who is in? We know Teresa for bodybuilding. Teresa, what's her name? Julia. That's everyone want to know who's going to win it. There's been some back and forth. There's been some dissing. There's been some rivalry, and we love it. We have Gina. We've seen a new pro called what's her name again? The new pro who wears the suit company. Is it when do you have the list or is it secret?
I do
or
not have the list yet. So that's where, yeah, we haven't gotten the list from the IFBB office yet, but I believe I know who you're talking about. She does competition suits, right?
Yes. She's making her
yeah.
pro debut there.
Yeah, and she's she and I we've actually sent DMs and said I know it's that point in the day, but I know who it is. But and she's super sweet. I thought it was Shelly.
Shelly.
I don't know. I have to look. Shelly. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought her name was Shelly.
Yeah. Gabby Vega from Colombia or Mexico or So we have some great girls.
We do
coming. It's gonna be
super too. I feel like women's bodybuilding is like they're gonna show up.
Yeah.
And so again, I want to support my girls. We've got. Well, I feel like for us to carry as much muscle as we do, we should be honored and rewarded for that. So, and again, I've done all 3 divisions. So these 3 divisions for me are, I've been there. But we definitely want to bring in the men. It's just a matter of timing. So again, we want to make sure that we get a good hold of the flow. And then we may start looking for a larger venue for next year. Because as we get more pros, right, we want to make sure we have space.
You want to stay in Arizona or you want to move it?
I'm open. I'll say that. Again, my goal is to support the athlete. You know what I mean? So whatever gives us the best, I want to do that.
Natalia Coelho, is she still the Women's Physique sponsor of the Women's
Physique? She is. She is. So thank you to Natalia. And she will be there. And we're going to give people an opportunity to do some photos and videos with us as kind of like a thank you. If they buy there will be set pricing set aside for that. But if they buy the VIP tickets, that will be a part of their package. But yeah, we want to give them some time to maybe speak with us, ask any questions maybe that they have. Because we love being able to give back and help athletes who are having a hard time. I spend a lot of my time at the booth doing that, but they'll have a little more of a quiet space with us this time around to be able to do that. So we're super excited. Sandy Williamson, our head judge.
Who's the head judge?
And Sandy Williamson will be our head judge.
Sandy Williams, the head judge. And do you know who? Well, we don't know who the other judges are, but we know Sandy will. He's usually the most important judge for most female classes. So she's going to judge. So that's great.
Yes.
So it's a big year. You have this show and then you have FIBO.
Yes. FIBO.
And also, Andrea, you're going to the Euro Muscle Show.
I'm so excited.
And
one of my favorite
Andrea,
bodybuilders on the planet, Mr. William Bonac. I absolutely adore that man. He is so humble, and I just love the way he carries himself as a champion.
Fans will be very curious to see you finally meeting Amazonka. You are aware of this?
Yes, and I'm super excited to meet her because I've always followed the journey since she did the Romania, but it's going to be cool to actually see her in person, so I'm so excited.
Yeah, she's going to try to do it. She has a lot of angles, and so you have to be aware that we don't get caught in any, you know what I mean? She's going to try to do something to go viral, so you must show the arms, so there's no, you know what I mean? We cannot be. This is a big face-off. It's gonna be interesting. And then we have obviously the prep for the Rising Phoenix, and you have different guest postings with Mutant. And before we go, tell us, how important is it for you that you are bringing this show, the Triple Dynasty, to the fans, to the women, also to the men next year? And this is the first show of the 2024 season for women's bodybuilding. All the fans of women's bodybuilding, we've been starving. We haven't had nothing. It's been a disaster 2 months. And finally, we are 2 weeks and you are the co-promoter. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels like it happened so fast, but with great joy. I am happy that it's here with great joy. Because again, I've gotten a chance now to really get a feel for, again, what athletes from other promoters sometimes feel as though they're missing in a show, right? And when you hear that, you want to be a solution, right? You don't want to create more of that problem. So this is, again, it's huge to me. It's very important. Obviously, it's near and dear to my heart. I've done all 3 divisions. And like I said, it may not be next year, but it may be possibly the following year that we add them in. It's just something that we don't want to throw together. Even with this show, we took 2 years to plan this. We're not one of those that just kind of pitch it up and then see what happens, right? We took time to really sit down and talk about, okay, what aspects of a show are going to make our show a great show. Yeah, and then we build from there. So it's almost like giving birth to a baby. It's my little bodybuilding baby that's like outside of me competing. So it's a big deal to me, and I'm absolutely like thrilled to be doing it with two ladies that I think are just amazing champions. Obviously, Sydney, a 7-time. I mean, wow. Wow. Yeah. Need I say more? I don't think anyone will ever reach that. And she's not done. So to be with these ladies.
Listen, I saw how she's training weights. Of course she's not even breaking a sweat. And these other girls are not even scoring she's got to feel very comfortable and confident, correct?
She is, but she always applies, and that's one thing about Sydney that I absolutely admire. Regardless of how many titles, she always is finding a way to level up. And I think that when I look at the last 2 years worth of even my own progress, me having my affiliation with Sydney has been very, very monumental in my own journey. Because when you get around people who have found ways to teach you about what they've had to learn, right? She went through I followed her journey before she started winning. Yeah. Sydney's been competing a very long time.
Yeah.
But the things that she's been able to learn over the years, she was able to kind of really teach me very quickly. Yeah. But I was ready for it also. So that's where, again, when I look at who's ready to receive the message of, you know what, I think you're not a good fit here, but you're better fit here from me, I'm always going to make sure that I do the right thing and tell that to whomever it is that I see needs it. So yeah, I think that, again, for all three of us, this is like, it's almost like a dream come true and a birthing of our own little bodybuilding, baby, because no one in the industry has ever done anything like this, especially still actively competing. And it says a lot about what we're capable of doing, even though we're still mastering all the goals and all the, we own homes and we've got cars to pay for and we're traveling and we're representing supplement.
How many cars do you have now?
I have 3.
yes. No, it's important also. I'm a close friend with Samson Dauda, and it's important to show that you can actually have some nice things with bodybuilding. You don't always have to be. Bodybuilding should be like, oh, I want to also do that because I also want to have some nice things, and it's nice to see that's not everyone is having a problem with those things. But anyway, Andrea, before we go, thank you very much for coming on. Fans are really excited. I'm sure all the people are super excited to see the show. And before we go, Andrea, you have promised you're going to give us a sneak peek of 7 months out.
Okay, I could do that. Like when?
I was just hoping to see some muscle, but I know you're covered up. I know it's gonna be hard showing some muscle right now, but it's okay. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And
well, check back when prep starts. Prep starts May 1st.